Hey guys, what is up? It is SkullFlag44 here, back with another Hawk Ramblings for Week 1 of the 2013 NFL season. Seahawks against the Panthers. This was a really fun game to watch. Obviously, the first Seahawks game of the season, and spoiler alert, they pulled out a victory. So I am more enthused doing this commentary. And if my voice sounds a little weird, that's because I went to football game for my high school last night and cheering super loud, and kind of took a little bit of the voice out, so it's a little more deeper and a little more raspy, but it can still get the job done. I just can't do all my range of emotions, maybe, or it might just sound a little different. Anyway, I don't have any notes for this game. I just got done watching it. I was watching the end of some of the other games, so that's always fun, and then I was watching a little bit of the the 49ers and Packers, and the whole school thing has really taken a big shot out of my free time. So I'm still able to watch my football, still able to do this, but the whole, I want to get some homework done today, and I've got other stuff I need to do. So I thought, hey, I'll just go free flow it here, and we'll see what we get. Maybe it'll be easier for me. I pulled up the ESPN box score, so I might just be going off of that as well, and just talking about all sorts of stuff. So started the game, the Seahawks. Actually, I was going to click on the play-by-play, but that'd be just me really summarizing the game. Started the game, or first off, predictions for the game. I thought the Seahawks would win. I expected them to win, but I wasn't too confident about it. I could have easily saw them losing. You can see, I tweeted this stuff out, so I'm not like I'm making this stuff up. I thought it was going to start out slow, would be close at halftime, and then, that's kind of when it gets scary. You'd rather, I said, if the Seahawks can start early, the game will be over, and that didn't happen. But the game was close at halftime, and then they kind of sneaked their way closer and closer, and were able to pull away. The big thing there is the Panthers, while they're a talented team, they're just not as experienced, and Ron Rivera isn't really known for his game management situations there. So he could have done better. I didn't really see anything blatant where he totally screwed up or anything like that, but he's not a type of guy that's going to, win the game and outcoach you like a Jeff Fisher or something like that. So started out, the Seahawks took the lead after going back and forth a bit. The Seahawks got in the red zone a lot, but we just got pushed out, and they never scored a touchdown while in the red zone. But Halverson kicked a 27-yard field goal, so that was good. We were like, all right, that's a good way to start. And then the Panthers just drove down, and I think there were just a couple there's a huge missed tackle by Byron Maxwell where it should have been a field goal because Steve Smith should have been wrapped up, but he just snuck right through. Steve Smith's a really good player, still after all these years, still really good, which is kind of crazy, and was able to get the first down. And then once first down, or first and goal on the 3-yard line, when you have Cam Newton in the backfield there, it's really hard to beat, and he was able to toss one in and get that to Steve Smith again. And so then we went into halftime after a drive and getting down there where Russell Wilson coughed up the ball because he got sacked. We went into halftime down by 4, and I saw a little thing where the Seahawks are 1-12 in the Pete Carroll and John Schneider era when losing at halftime. And so that was one of those things, I know they could do it, but man, if you just kind of get that in your head, it's like, wow, this is going to be really difficult for them to do. But they did. The game they won the game they won after losing at halftime was against Carolina last year, so there was some precedence for it. And it was a really similar type of game where just kind of rough, just a tough game. People were kind of surprised, I think, early on that the Seahawks weren't, blowing them out. And the thing about the Seahawks is they're a huge momentum team. They take a while to really get going, and then once they get rolling, they're really hard to stop. But especially on the road, they're not as good there, and they were just able to kind of squeak out a victory that maybe they wouldn't have gotten last year because I don't know, they're not as experienced with it. But the fact they were able to get that win on the road there was really big. When you're looking at it, last year they went 8-0 at home and 3-5 on the road, and that's if they do that again this year, which is a possibility with the tough conference, even though I think they're much better, because what you want is a chance at the playoffs. And I mean that might be able to get you a 1 or 2 seed. I think it did the last year, but obviously the Seahawks didn't win their division, and so they're just the 5th seed. And so you kind of have to balance that. But if they're able to do that again, you're thinking logistically about that. If they can just get 2 more wins on the road, and you assume that they get they're go undefeated at home, then they're in pretty good shape. And this sets up a really fun game next week against the 49ers. The big primetime, huge deal. Everyone's been hyping it up for months now, and then I'm sure this whole week, especially after this win, everyone will be even more excited about it, because the win kind of amplifies it. And this is more, okay, can we get through this game to move on to the 49er game is the big thing. And with the 49ers playing right now, it'll be interesting to see if both teams are 1-0 going into it, because Packers are obviously a good team, or what happens there. But if the Seahawks were to lose this game, it would have been a lot tougher to come in and beat the 49ers, especially if they're 1-0, because you already feel like you're kind of down and you're already trying to dig yourself out of the hole there. But the fact that you're able to get this win, I have a hard time imagining them losing the 49ers at home when the CenturyLink's going to be that crazy. I think it's just going to be absolutely ridiculous. Like, it was a huge deal last year, but this year they're trying to set the record home debut. I think it's just going to be insane, like record setting. They're going for the world record. I don't know if they're going to get the world record, but it's going to be absolutely ridiculous. And I think that's going to be a huge deal. Everyone's going to be so fired up for it. And the Seahawks are just so tough at home. And while the 49ers are really good, I don't see them as, they're not like head and shoulders above the Seahawks, and they're going to be able to just, it's not like Seahawks are just going to have to rely on their home field advantage to win it, because I think they could beat them on the road, even though it'd be difficult. They're really evenly matched teams, and especially with the momentum getting a tough victory here, it's going to be tough for them to lose that one, I think. But if they were to lose this one, then it kind of puts in doubt, the 49er game. It's going to be a good game no matter what happens or no matter what had happened or what will happen. And so that's something to definitely look forward to. Just kind of looking through the stats here. Russell Wilson, 25 for 33, 320 yards, 9.7 average, touchdown, and 115.7 quarterback rating, which is really, really awesome. I mean, that's a great game. And that's crazy because through the first half, I mean, he was not very good. He was making the plays. He wasn't awful. Like, I think it was kind of similar to the Green Bay game where people were, obviously that was a lot worse. This was great, but people just weren't impressed. He was kind of making some mistakes. Took some big sacks, some big penalties there. He had one play to Doug Baldwin where he just kind of threw it away to get out of a sack, and Doug Baldwin just found it and took it there, which was a super, super risky play. But just Russell Wilson kind of has that magic it just seems to work out for him. And so that's, really nice that he was able to have a big, looking at the stats, have a big game after kind of, struggling, especially in the red zone, which is kind of where it's noticeable, where he had that turnover. But no interceptions, touchdown, really, solid start for him, and especially something he can build off of and learn from his mistakes. Running the ball, the Seahawks were not successful at all. Marshawn Lynch only had 43 yards. Robert Turbin wasn't very good except for one cutback run he had. Russell Wilson had a couple of scrambles, but probably should have ran a little more. He had some openings that he didn't really. He's all about trying to get the ball to his receivers, but I think sometimes it's better if he just runs it, because the guy, one of the big problems was Russell Wilson just needing to make quicker decisions. So that kind of comes in effect there. No Christine Michael, which was kind of disappointing because he was active. So you would have thought they would have had him in the game plan a bit, especially because, it wasn't that it didn't seem like it was, that if Lynch or Turbin got hurt, he would go in because, well, even though he would have, but they could have relied off, just running the ball with Derek Coleman or Spencer Ware. And Derek Coleman got a nice, got some nice play time, and he did pretty well. 3 catches for 30 yards, had a nice run. Kind of, looking a lot like Michael Robinson, even though he's more like a, tailback, fullback combo. Like I don't think he did too much just straight fullback blocking. So there's that. Brandon Browner was out, so we were able to get the win without him. Hopefully him and Clay Favorable will be back next week. That would be huge. If we get Chris Clemens back too, that'd be even bigger. O'Brien Schofield had a nice sack for the Seahawks, and the Seahawks defensive line didn't look too bad to me. They obviously could have gotten a lot more pressure, and if they were at full strength and were doing this, I'd be a little concerned. But for the situation they were in, I thought they were fine. They got a sack on Cam Newton, and they should have had another one, but they got this, face mask call that was kind of ridiculous and didn't really happen. And he kind of slipped away there and all sorts of different deals. And so there was a couple times where they could have gotten him for sack, but Cam Newton's just a crazy athlete, super strong, that he's tough to bring down. Mayo had a couple opportunities. John Ryan in the punting was huge for keeping them in the game. 69-yard punt was absolutely ridiculous. That was a big deal because early on it was a field position game, and that was really important. Golden Tate had some nice punt returns. There weren't any kickoff returns at all in the game, which is kind of funny because that's usually a bigger, or has been a bigger thing, but with the kickoff being moved up 5 yards, that's kind of taken out of it, and feels like the kickers have gotten a lot stronger. Like for some reason, Hauschka can kick way more than he could before. I don't know if maybe that has to do with the heat making the ball fly farther. We'll have to see how that moves into the December and fall winter months or seasons. So that's something there. Doug Baldwin was great. He was absolutely awesome. Huge third down player. Had the great play where Russell Wilson just kind of threw it up in the corner there, and he was able to find it. He was like everything you want out of a really solid wide receiver. Gritty. Catching the ball in traffic. Finding the hole in the defense. Had the most targets there. Showing that Russell Wilson has been looking for him a little more, which is really exciting to see. Golden Tate had 7 targets, 4 catches, 51 yards, and really solid performance out of him. He has some crazy wiggle that's kind of ridiculous. And Jermaine Kearse had a great catch for the touchdown that gave him the lead and gave him the win. Even though I guess I have a hard time seeing them actually getting the win without that play. But if you look at it, they could have kicked a field goal and still gotten the win. But that was a huge play because they were just able to take the lead. They tried to get the 2-point conversion, which would have made me feel a lot better because I knew, okay, even if they score, we'll at least have the chance for overtime, have that opportunity. But we didn't get that, so it was kind of it was kind of worrisome. And then Earl Thomas came up, absolutely massive, forcing the fumble, and then we were just able to drive the ball from there. We didn't have to kick it back. We just kept the drive alive, and that was a really big deal and really important. Derek Coleman had a great play for that, I believe, further down the road. But Jermaine Kearse absolutely huge. Steven Williams, I was waiting for them to throw it long to Steven Williams all game, and then they finally did. Russell Wilson just threw a perfect ball. It probably could have been a little shorter, just so he could catch it in stride and not have to dive for it, but it was definitely should have been caught, and he had it in his hands and had to kind of fall to catch it, kind of reach over. Even though it looked like he could have been running faster, I think if he was kind of looking up at the ball, and if he kept running and then turned around a little more, he would have been set. But just kind of squeaked out. And it was one of those things you could kind of see it happen. It was, Steven Williams all preseason has had crazy hands and has been able to hang on to the ball. And so it was kind of surprising to see, that him not be able to, hang on to it, but, something to be expected. And I guess they had Doug Baldwin in the reverse, but I thought it was Steven Williams first time, but I saw other people talking that it was that it was Doug Baldwin, so that's what it was. So Steven Williams didn't really, I guess, do anything, although he set up the Jermaine Kearse play a little bit. Let's see. Sidney Rice had a couple nice catches, but didn't factor in a big deal. Zach Miller, same sort of thing. But yeah, a lot of pieces. Let's see how many people caught the ball in the Seahawks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then would have been Steven Williams if he'd hang on to that one, compared to the Panthers, who had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, which is really surprising. Only 2 of their wide receivers caught a ball, Steve Smith and Ted Ginn Jr., and then it was Greg Olsen, and then D'Angelo Williams and Mike Tolbert out of the backfield. Was that Mike Tolbert? Mike Tolbert, it is. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, the Seahawks did a really good job keeping Cam Newton in check. He was definitely, he can throw the ball really well. I didn't realize how well he could throw the ball. He's got a great arm and was really impressing me. But I don't think he's completely there yet. I think a couple more years he'll be a better quarterback once this team gets a little developed. But the Panthers are, a decent team. Last year they were 7-9 after really struggling early on, but then they turned it on, and I think they'll be solid. Um, and so it's a good road win, especially going into the big, San Francisco game. And after that game we have Jacksonville, who was just got destroyed by the Chiefs at home. So that's a pretty much guaranteed victory. It'd be, I guess you have the Gus Johnson, factor there that they kind of know our team, and we should technically know their team, but it matters more for them. But that'd be absolutely ridiculous if we lost that, and maybe that's one we overlook. Who knows? But yeah, let's see what else is here. Oh, turnovers, obviously a big deal. Russell Wilson fumbled at the end of the first half when we were down a turnover. So you always try to look at the turnover battle to see who will win the game. If you're winning the turnover battle, you have a much higher chance of winning the game, and I think the ratios are much better there. So I was waiting for us to really step up our turnover game, because that's what the Seahawks defense prides themselves on. They forced one fumble, and then Richard Sherman should have had an interception early on, and then they recovered a fumble that hit Panther in the leg, so on a punt return. So there was that. So that was good to see. Early on, Carolina had a much higher time possession, but then it looks like the Seahawks took the lead there just by 14 seconds or so. Penalties were a big deal. That was a big problem. When the Panthers drove down the field, that looked like they were going to take the lead. D'Angelo Williams had a great run, and then Earl Thomas kind of saved him with forcing the fumble there. That should have been stopped because there was just a bad call on the face mask penalty, and then there's a late hit of Cam Chancellor, and all sorts of penalties gave him into position. That would have been a really frustrating, way to blow it, because of just would have been preventable, and we should have had the ball back anyway. So 9 penalties for 99 yards, something that they really need to clean up. I really don't know what the deal is. It was like during the preseason it was a problem, but you thought okay, just preseason, but it's it's especially you're able to win this game against the Panthers because they are not very experienced and you're a really good team. But when you're playing, when we go down to Indianapolis or Houston, you're not gonna be able to get away with that. So hopefully they can clean it up by the time we get there. Yep. Stephen Hauschka, really solid. Didn't really do anything, but apparently he was like nailing 62-yard field goals in practice. Let's see his tackles. Earl Thomas had a lot of tackles. He looked really good. Bobby Wagner looks like he had a lot of tackles. I don't know. Early on, Bobby Wagner didn't really stand out. He kind of missed a couple plays, and then I don't know, wasn't really as impressive, especially because Luke Kuechly's kind of his, rival. I don't know. They probably don't even consider themselves rivals or whatever, but Bobby Wagner, was a deserving candidate for Rookie of the Year, but because Luke Kuechly was, drafted early in the first round, he kind of, I think, got the edge for it, and especially because it's harder to stand out on the Seahawks defense, But maybe part of the reason Bobby Wagner was, good was because of that being a second round pick. And so I was looking for him to really step up and maybe control and, stop Cam Chancellor or Cam Newton from running around. And Cam Newton didn't really run around much. He had 5 carries for 38 yards, which is pretty good, when you look at it, but it wasn't, busting you for 100 yards like Terrell Pryor did against the Colts today. So, he did a good job. Cam Chancellor I didn't really see him make too many plays, but, next on the tackle list. Tony McDaniel occupied some space, and then from there it just kind of gets crazy. Richard Sherman had a really good game again. I think Steve Smith got a catch against him, and there's probably another couple catches, but great player, obviously really good. Walter Thurman struggled early on, but then kind of stopped him down there, and you can tell they did a really good job because the wide receivers only had 7 catches overall, and so the other thing is missed tackles was a big deal. That might just be, it was super hot down there that the announcers were always talking about, which I don't think was a huge factor, but definitely plays some role in it. And so that's something to, consider at least a bit. Let's see, Christian Michael, like I said. Wow, the Seahawks yard per pass. For some reason it has them at 9 point, like the yards don't match up for some reason. Like it says the team that only threw for 300 when Russell Wilson threw for 320. So I don't know why that is, but Yards per pass for the Seahawks was 9.7 per attempt, which is really, really great. And then Cam Newton's was 5.4. So yeah, it was just overall just a gritty win that they were able to push through, and one of those that kind of could have gone either way, but they were able to get a win there. And they say special things happen during special seasons, so maybe this is it. And one note, Hawk Blogger, who I follow on Twitter, is a great follow. I've expressed interest, or I've said before, not expressed interest. I guess I have expressed interest too, but I'm not a huge fan of him. Just kind of the way he acts sometimes, but he's growing on me a little more. I'm like what he's doing. I listened to his prediction show. It was like 2.5 hours of podcast. That was really good, kind of prep for the game. I was kind of antsy for some Seahawks football, and so that was fun to listen to. And he made a note about how he predicted the Seahawks to go 14-2, and the only losses were to Carolina and to Houston, then go on like a 17-game win streak to win the Super Bowl. So technically, if you're looking at his prediction, he's a Seahawks expert. The Seahawks are poised to go 15-1, which I do not see happening at all, but they're certainly capable of it, and they're off to a good start here. So yeah, let's see anything else that I want to touch on. Talk about sacks, no interceptions. Oh, there's one play where Russell Wilson got pressured up the ball. They pressured in his own end zone. He had to get rid of it to get out of a safety and almost threw an interception. People were kind of saying on Twitter like, oh, where's the decision making? But to me, it's one of those you kind of have to take. You have to take a risk on it that you can't take the safety, and there's probably like a 10% chance you're throwing an interception there. And it's something that it's worth balancing out maybe, especially if you think your defense can hold to a field goal if they do get it, and then it's only a 1-point swing. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he didn't think about all that in his head as he did it, but something to look at. Third down efficiency is something really important to look at each game. The Seahawks were 6 for 13. If they're around 50%, you're doing really well. And so they, if they had one more conversion, they would have been set, but that's pretty decent. Good enough there. Carolina had 3 first downs from penalties. Let's see. Seahawks ran 61 total plays. Overall, just a solid game, solid way to start off the season. Kind of concerning, for the first 3 quarters, but the Seahawks were able to do their thing and get a victory just like last year. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed Hawk Rambling Seahawks versus Panthers Week 1 of the 2013 NFL season. I will be back next week, I am sure. I didn't do a prediction one, a pre-game one this week, but maybe next week, especially because it's a later game, I'll be more excited, more ready to go about it, and didn't have time Friday and Saturday to do it. So we'll see how I want to do that. It's just kind of an ongoing experiment. I'm sure that